I'm live. Hello. Wow. I haven't gone live. Wait, is my microphone working? I don't know. I can't tell. Welcome to Motherhood is Wild's first ever live chat. Well, in a while. I literally sat down and I started filming 2 different episodes today, and I stopped in the middle of each one, and I was just like, this is just not coming out right. This is not what I'm feeling like I need to say. And then I was like, you know what? I might just do a live chat, and maybe I'll find some inspiration if anyone decides to watch. And there's a total of 3 people here. Hello, Penny. Thank you for being here. So that being said, I don't know. I feel like my heart's a little heavy this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. And so I was just feeling a little inspired, or not so uninspired, just I didn't quite know what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to say. I'm actually going to move you guys. I don't like this angle. I don't like looking down. So I'm going to scoot you over. Hi, Vanessa. I'll scoot you over. I'm going to move my little situation here. There's just wires everywhere. Is there anything that any of you would like to talk about? There we go. That's much better. I like this much, much better. I'm wearing my Strong Like a Mother sweatshirt that I absolutely love. I don't remember the company I bought it from. I'll have to look that up. But there was a few things that I was going to talk about. My birth control experience. I started a video about how I feel about mourning the loss of who you were postpartum, like who you were pre-pregnancy, mourning that person postpartum. And I just felt like those were 2 really good topics. The first one, I felt like a lot needs to be said on that in order for me to be fully open about that experience. And I don't feel comfortable sharing everything about that yet. And then the second one, I was like, this is a great topic. I really want to talk about this. I feel like a lot of women can relate to, feeling like the person that they were pre-baby doesn't exist anymore. And as I was like going through the episode, I was just feeling like I wasn't finding the exact words that I wanted to say. Like the message I wanted to convey was just not coming out the way I wanted it to. So I was just like, I don't know. It's not that I have to put a video out today or anything like that, but I figure maybe if I go live and anyone wants to show up, we can talk about something else that maybe you want to talk about right now, or find some inspiration for that next video. I was just feeling like the words were not flowing this morning. And I was trying to also film my next episode for Leave Her Wild. And I was kind of feeling the same thing on that episode, that episode too, is I wasn't quite sure like what I wanted to say. And after I had did my 2 episodes on Motherhood is Wild that I completely scrapped, it was then that I felt like I knew what I wanted to talk about for Leave Her Wild, because I have a whole video I've been working on for the Leave Her Wild podcast that needs more attention. And so I'm just like working on it. And so I had to come up with a different topic to discuss. And I knew what I wanted to discuss. That video is already done and ready to go for Friday on Leave Her Wild, and I'm still here on Motherhood is Wild, just kind of contemplating my next episode. I don't know, maybe I need to kind of take a step back for the day and kind of just give myself a day to sit on it and think about it and think about what I really want to talk about. And like I said, if you guys have any suggestions or anything that you have gone through, like, is there anything that you as a mom have felt or experienced that people just do not talk about? Because that's like my biggest thing that I want to do with this podcast channel, is to be able to open up conversations about things that normally are otherwise not talked about because of one reason or the other, whether we're afraid of being shamed or we're just uncomfortable with the conversation, because it's hard to have those uncomfortable conversations and put yourself out there. And I feel like being vulnerable is really scary. And I think that when you are vulnerable and open, it can make people uncomfortable because everyone has different opinions and different journeys. And when we are able to put ourselves out there in that aspect, regardless of how uncomfortable we might make someone else, it might just help someone else. So if you have experienced something and someone else had a different experience with something similar, that doesn't mean that one person's journey or experience is better than the other person. It doesn't mean that, they know more, or I don't know. I feel like it's scary for a lot of people, especially us women, who society's expectations of us are so ridiculous and tall orders, big shoes to fill. It's like, as a mom, nothing that you do is right. You're always doing something wrong. Like, you let your kid eat chips and you're a bad mom. If you don't let your children experience unhealthy food, if like you make your kids be vegan, or if you make your kids eat a certain way, like you're just constantly under a microscope of other people's opinions. I don't know. It's just a wild time that we live in, I guess. I can't imagine like what it would have been like if my mom had if they say she had the internet back then and she had 8 kids and she's putting herself out there and her journey was what it was, like what people would say. And that's the thing is back then, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Vanessa said, I'm 13 years into motherhood, and when my son was a newborn, it was the height of the shiny, happy mommy blogs. I didn't see the struggles that I experienced with my hard son. He didn't sleep much, and I was a walking mommy. Yeah, I think that is important, and that's exactly, I completely understand. My Ember was really, she was a hard baby too. And my best friend Bridget just posted on Facebook about how the toddler phase is so much harder than the newborn phase. And for me, while Ember's not like an easy toddler or anything, I feel like my newborn phase with Ember was much harder than what I'm dealing with now. I too felt like a mommy, and I, was dealing with postpartum depression, and it was, you follow all these moms on social media and everyone's living their highlight reel online, and it's less. The thing is when we are vulnerable and we share the not so great parts of our lives and motherhood, people get so angry, as if we're complaining about being a parent. And it's like, that's not it. It's not about complaining, and it's not about a highlight reel. It's about just being real, because not every baby is easy and not every day is full of rainbows and sunshine. I think it's important to be vulnerable, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Paul said, hello, Jaylina, you're great parents. You both always put Ember first, and that's awesome. Yeah, Ember is very fortunate. She has a father who is in the picture and who loves her and adores her. And we both, like, everything that we do is for our daughter. And I grew up without a dad. And so for me, it's really important that, you know, the fact that she has a great dad, that no matter what, that, you know, we make our relationships as a whole like a priority. Vanessa, I'm sitting here and nodding my head. Yeah, I'm with you on that. The toddler stage was easier than the first year. Yeah, the first year was really hard, but the newborn stage, man, that first year, like, it's, for me, it was just, Ember is a very clingy baby, and I am the primary parent. And so she's a lot better now than she was back then. But even now, like, when I went to Nashville for New Year's, it was the first time I had been away from Ember that long, and it was really hard for me, but she did really great. Like, she is a completely different child when it's just her and her dad. See, she's super chill, and she's not too crazy, and she's just very different. And then and she's more independent when she's with him. But when she's with me, or if it's the both of us, she wants to be basically like on top of me. She has to like be seen by me at all times. So it's hard to navigate that part of being a mom, where I am trying to be present while also trying to live my life. Like, if I'm trying to clean or cook or whatever the case may be. And I have Ember, who sometimes if I try and wash the dishes, she'll stand behind me and she'll hug my legs, and not necessarily throw a fit or anything, but she's sad because she wants me to go play with her or whatever the case may be. And it's just not, it's a hard balance sometimes. And she's just not like that with her dad. So like, he can work on his computer for the most part. Sometimes she is like that with him sometimes, but not like, for me, I cannot be in the same room with her and work on the computer. She will not have it. And I don't know what that means. The only thing that I know is, if she's having these big feelings, you know, I try and talk to her. She obviously is too young to really or understand. But if I can sit there and talk to her right now as a almost 2-year-old, when she's older, at least I'm hoping, in theory, in my head, that as she grows older and we're having conversations, and even though she's a child and she's not quite understanding, she will feel comfortable in that situation. So when she is 16 years old or even 10 years old, and there are hard conversations that we need to have, like, my goal is to make her feel comfortable in having those hard conversations, or even light conversations. I try and ask her about her day and like talk to her like she's a normal human being who is older and understands, which she does somewhat understand what you're saying. Like, you know, when Debbie leaves, which is her, our friend and her babysitter, and I'll ask her, "Did you and Debbie have a good time today? Did you play? What did you do?" And she says things and mumbles things, and she'll show me toys, and I'm assuming they played with that toy or something. And she's really smart, and so I try to give her as much one-on-one attention as I can, and I want her to always feel comfortable enough to come to me with anything and, talk. So I feel like maybe that was a little bit of a random, I don't even know where that came from. But even like if I try and work out, if I have my weights in the living room and I'm trying to work out in the living room as opposed to my gym outside in our studio, she like is not about that life. She does not like that. So D. Nanya said, I think most little girls are like that with their mommy, very clingy. My daughter was like that until she got married. I love it though, because she's the only child and now she's married. That's sweet. I feel like I was like that with my mom, but again, I didn't have a dad in the picture, so I don't know the difference. But yeah, I was very, very clingy when it came to my mom. I remember when I was, I don't know, I think it was probably like between 5 and 8, and my mom worked nights. And I would be so afraid, or not even afraid, I just didn't want her to leave. And so she'd leave for work, and I remember she used to always wear this jean jacket, so it smelled like her, and I'd wrap myself up in her jean jacket, and I'd lay on her bed, and I'd cry myself to sleep. Like, that's a memory that I have. And so for, Isaac and I both to work from home, I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to work from home, because I don't want her to feel that way. And although I do leave sometimes, it's a very short amount of time. Dee Nunya said that she has little boys. Oh, boy moms. My mom had 6 boys and 2 girls. So lots of testosterone in my household growing up. Vanessa said, my son was like that until his 3rd birthday. After his 3rd birthday, he became a bit more independent and able to play on his own. I feel like Ember is slowly, and I mean very slowly, becoming more and more independent. And even though right now, sometimes she'll play on her own, I have to be in the room. If she is playing on her own, and I walk out of the room, she has to go wherever I went. So if I come in our bedroom or if I go in the restroom, like, she has to go. And because she's like that with the restroom, I know it's about time that she starts potty training. And so I am not ready for potty training. Ember's ready. She lets us know when she goes to the bathroom. She'll tell us, like, if she poops her diaper, she'll tell us, and she so that we can go change her, like, immediately when she's done. And so anytime I go to the bathroom and she has to go with me, I'll tell her, like, this is what I'm doing, just so she starts to, realize, like, oh, when you have to go to the bathroom, you sit on the toilet. And what we've been doing now is just, do you have to go potty? And we'll go and we'll sit her on the toilet, let her sit there, kind of get her comfortable with it. And I'm hoping that we don't have to go through the whole, like, cold turkey, off diapers, pee and poop in the underwear so that they're uncomfortable. I'm not looking forward to that. And I'm hoping that we can work around that. But I mean, I'm not saying that that's going to work, but we'll see what happens. Vanessa says, wait for spring and let her go without any pants on and put her on the potty so she can use it anytime. Yeah, that's a good idea too, especially if we can play outside a lot. Like, that's what I'm really looking forward to when the weather changes, because we're basically stuck in the house all the time. It's cold and rainy and wet outside, and there's trees everywhere. You should see our You should see our yard. There's just cut up trees. So many trees and limbs just fell, and it's a little wild. But my sister was the one who told me about the underwear potty training method, where, you know, you just put them in underwear, and then when they go to the restroom and they're uncomfortable, they'll learn. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Let me look up on YouTube different potty training methods, and a lot of them were that. So I don't know if that's just like the general normal, but I'm hoping I don't have to do that, but I'm preparing myself for having to do that. It doesn't sound fun at all. But I feel like she's definitely at the point where she's ready to start potty training, just because she's so vocal about having to use the restroom. Mary Ann said, hello, Jaylena. Hello. I think girls learn faster than boys. I have heard that from every single person who has girls and boys. They always say that the girls are much easier to potty train. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because it's kind of, if you think about it, it's easier for us to use the restroom. Being an adult or a child, you don't have to think about what you're doing per se. Like a boy has to kind of learn a little bit more than a girl does. But I have heard that that girls learn faster than boys when it comes to potty training. So I am very grateful to be a girl mom. I would have been happy either way, but growing up in a house with 6 boys, I think I needed to be a girl mom. I need to drink some water real quick. Allison said, we let ours go to the bathroom with us and see us use the potty. I have a son and 2 daughters. They all learned around the same time. We got them big girl and boy panties and underwear, and it made a big deal. Did you let them, like, was that the method that you used to potty train, was to just put them in their underwear and let them go in their underwear and then put them on the toilet and be like, look, you gotta go potty this way, so that they stopped? D. Nanya said, Ember is very smart. I believe if you go to the restroom with her, she will use the potty bowl while you do your business. The thing is we don't have like the traditional small potty training toilet that a lot of people use. We have Isaac's parents bought us a nice like toilet seat that it comes up, the top comes up, and it's a magnet toddler toilet seat. So then you could just put that down and it makes the toilet seat like a toddler seat, so they can actually use the bathroom on the big potty versus a smaller one. But I wonder if we did get her a smaller one while she's learning, if every time I went to the bathroom, I took her with me and had her sit down on her toilet while I'm on, doing mine, if that would make a difference. Debbie says, it's not as hard as you think. We started in the warm weather, and when we're outside most of the day with the potty in the back deck, we gave an M&M when they did it. I love that. Reward. Okay, noted. Allison said, it is. They didn't have as many accidents as you would think. Okay. So we didn't use the potty training toilet. We used the seat on our toilet because we didn't want to clean the little ones. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, we have one on our big toilet seat that you can use for toddlers, and that's what I've been putting her on for her to learn. And I do like I'm hoping that by the summer, by the time that the weather really warms up, she'll be potty trained. But we have only just begun working with her in very small amounts, just like putting her on the toilet, getting her used to it. First time I put her on the toilet, she was a little afraid. She's clenching up, and she asked to sit on there. She told me she had to poop. And so we put her on, and I asked if she wanted to get on the big girl toilet. She said yes. And so we put her on there, but she was kind of afraid. And our toilet is a little bit tall, and we do have a squatty potty though, so she can kind of step on that and it's not as intimidating. But she's a lot more comfortable sitting on the toilet now than she was the first time. So it'll be a journey, but it's just something that we're kind of dipping our feet into right now. And like she is smart. She's a fast learner. She brushes her teeth every night, and like that was something that she was uncomfortable with at first, but now she loves to brush her teeth. She knows that every night she takes a bath and she brushes her teeth, and then we go to bed. Marianne said she'll pick it up real fast. I sure hope so. Excuse me. Alsim said, I wouldn't stress. She's smart and she will get in her own time and be potty trained before you know it. Yeah, I'm really not like trying to stress too much about it because I know that, or at least I feel like she'll really get the hang of it without, having any real issues and like having too many accidents. And she's really good about knowing when she has to go. And usually, like right now, I know when she's using the bathroom in her diaper. So like if I know she's like she is a certain way about it. So if I see her start being like that, I can just like, you gotta go potty, let's go sit on the toilet, and hopefully she'll get used to that. But potty training it's a scary thought, but I know it's not as bad as we might think it is, just like thinking about it. And a lot of times when I need any motherly advice, I'll call my mom or I'll call my sister. And a lot of times my mom will tell me to call my sister because my mom's like, oh, that was so long ago. All of my kids are so much older. Like, you should call your sister. She's, not that far out of motherhood as much as I am. So I call my sister for a lot, and I appreciate, our relationship. And we've gotten a lot closer since I've become a mom. We've always been like kind of close, but I definitely feel a deeper bond with her now that we're both moms. And she's raised some pretty amazing kids too. I remember, she has 3 kids. My oldest niece is like your ideal perfect child that you'd want, your kid to be like, which she's a unicorn. I know not all kids are that good, but and that smart. But her other 2 kids are very much closer in age. They're still pretty young, and they like fight all the time, like play fighting, and they're very loud and crazy at home, but like in a good way. And I remember going to restaurants, and they were the most well-behaved children I've ever seen. So polite and well-behaved in public, and then they're free to be their wild and crazy kid selves like at home. And so I always thought that was really cool, and I hope that I can raise Ember to be that polite and well-behaved in public. But I mean, I don't know how my sister did it. I don't know if she has any secrets. Is there any topics that you guys would like to hear about as far as being a parent and being a mom? There are so many things that I want to talk about, and some of them I'm just like still trying to talk myself into allowing myself to be vulnerable when it comes to certain things, like one, I know that I don't want to have any more kids, and I get so much backlash when I say that. Ember's almost 2 years old, and I don't want to have any more children, and I'm not going to. And for one reason or the other, people like to tell me why it's not up to me, or about how I am selfish for that and I should be thinking about her and not me. But at the same time, there are so many reasons why it might be better for someone to only have one child, to not have any kids, or, if they are able to and want to have, as many kids as they want, like financially. we live in a world today where everything is so expensive. And I mean, everything. If you decide for whatever reason breastfeeding is not something that you can provide to your child, you're going to have to buy formula. That is really expensive. School is really expensive. Clothes are really expensive. Like everything that comes with being a parent is not cheap. And so for someone to be like, oh, you're selfish for only having one kid, it's like, you don't know my finances and how much money I make in order to provide the life that I want to provide for my child. And this is just an example, this is not why, but if I or anyone else for that matter decides they only want to have one child so that they can provide a great life for them versus having more than one and having to make a lot more sacrifices and to them in their opinions take away from the life that your one child would have. That's just one example. And for me, I didn't think I could have kids. And so having Ember was a miracle already. Getting through that pregnancy was a miracle, in my opinion. It was so hard on me in every way. And I honestly never want to do it again. But also, I don't know what complications would look like if I decided to have another child. So for me, a lot of personal reasons, I don't want to have any more kids. I'm not going to have any more kids. And and people can say that that's selfish, but I feel like it would be even more selfish to have another child because other people wanted me to have a kid and then me be miserable as a mom and then that overflow into the life that I am giving to my children is me being unhappy and miserable and stressed because of many different factors. So, like I said, my mom had 8 children and we were not privileged by any means. We had, I remember eating, ramen noodles out of butter buckets that we used as bowls on the floor in my bathing suit when, what we did for fun was play outside in the water because that's in the yard. That's all we had to do. We made do with what we had. And my mom loved having kids. She loves everything about being a mom, and that's great. And that is her right. And that's what she wanted to do. That's what she did. And and then I see other people where, there are people in my life who I know personally where the dad is the stay-at-home primary parent and the mom works all the time. And she would have probably popped out as many kids as she possibly could. Her last one, I think it was their 5th child. The doctor basically said, you cannot have any more C-sections. You will risk your life if you have any more kids. So she stopped, but she would have kept going. And I say that because she is an absent mom. She doesn't enjoy being a mother. She doesn't, it seems like she doesn't want to be a mom, but for some reason kept having kids. And it's just, for me, it's hard to think about, these are people that matter to me, and for them to think about the babies and stuff and the life that they're going to grow up living. And I just know that it's going to be a little difficult. And so I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like everyone's lives look different. And just because you have more than one child doesn't mean that your kids are going to have any better of a life than anyone who only has one kid. I have friends who are only children, and I can tell you not one of them wishes that they had siblings. Not one. And I know that that's not the case for every only child. There are only children who wish that they did have siblings. But I'm also one of 8 kids, and I was never close to any of my siblings growing up. I wasn't close to any of them at all. And I got along better with some than I did others. And like I said, I wasn't close to my sister until recently when, I became a mom myself. And so it's like out of 8 kids, none of us were really close. We were all kind of on our own, in our own lanes, and did our own things. And while my older brothers hung out a little bit, my younger 2 brothers absolutely hate each other. They still do, and they'll tell you that. And then my sister is the oldest, and so she kind of felt like, she had to help raise a lot of us. And by the time she moved out, I have 2 other younger brothers, and now as adults, I don't talk to most of my siblings. I talk to Levi, who some of you might know. He's one of my younger brothers. I don't talk to my other younger brother at all. We're just not close. Like he lives in Seattle. If I ever make it that way, I'd love to see him, but we're not that close. I have 4 older brothers, one of whom I text and stuff every now and then, but other than that, I don't really talk to any of them. And I talk to my sister more than any of my siblings, but now especially that I'm a mom. So it's hard to, I want to say that it's not that it's hard to hear that type of negative feedback when people shame you for only wanting one child. But it's like we all have our reasons, and I don't understand why some people are so adamant about the fact that they know everything, and apparently they know how to justify a stranger on the internet, for example, who they don't even know, who doesn't know my personal circumstances, but is going to sit there and tell me that I'm a terrible, selfish person for not giving Isaac another child, for not giving him a son, or for not giving Ember a sibling, or whatever the case may be. But it's like Isaac never thought he was going to have kids either. So it's like we're just really grateful that we have the one, and we are doing our best to provide her with the best possible life we can. And it's hard. It's really hard. And, we have bills, and everyone does. And it's like, as expensive as everything is today. And it's like I feel like people need to think more about what it truly costs to be a parent before just popping out kids. Cause some people do, they just have a bunch of kids and they don't necessarily think about what it's going to look like in the long run. Cause a lot of times, we're just living in the now. And so, and I get some people feel very strongly about giving their children siblings, and that's fine, but that's their lives and their choices. And I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone that they should or should not have kids, that they should or should not have more than one, or that they should and should not have 8. It's not my business. It's not their business. So to be able to just be grateful for my daughter, that's all that matters to me. Like I said, I have my reasons why I'm not going to have any more kids. And I do want to post about that. I want to share those reasons in case, there's anyone out there who might feel the same. Or I don't want to say too much about it because it's something I've never talked about online before. And it's been a little intimidating to kind of, and I am a very open person. I do try to be as transparent and open as possible. But when it comes to something that's so personal to me and a part of my journey, and it's like people share about this stuff all the time online. But for me, it's like I have to be in the right mindset because I've worked so hard to not let negative comments get to me. But when it comes to my daughter, it's different, and my mama bear instincts want to come out, and I can't let those people provoke me. So I'm trying to figure out how to approach that topic in like a way that is not gonna make me want to, like, make my head want to explode. Debbie said it is a personal choice that nobody should judge you for. I have one daughter that wanted to be like the Duggars and have 20 kids, and the other daughter didn't want any. They both ended up having 3. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is by the time I got pregnant, I didn't think I could have kids. And at one point in my life, I did want to be a mom. I don't think for the right reasons. But by the time I got pregnant, I was at a point in my life where I didn't want to have kids. Well, to an extent, I guess I shouldn't say I didn't want to have kids. I was at a point in my life where I was content with the idea of never having kids because I didn't think I could. And so, I mourned the idea of being a mom, and I kind of picked myself up and moved on with my life, and I accepted the fact that I wouldn't be a mom, and that just wasn't in the cards for me, and I was able to be okay with that. And I accepted that, and then it just was what it was, and so I started living my life a little differently, and then I got pregnant. And it was like a miracle. And I remember being so scared. And there is a story that I think I'm going to save for a video in itself of when I found out that I was pregnant. And it's really special to me. And I knew everything was going to be okay. Dean Nanya said, it's your body, only you know your circumstances. We're 6 in my family. 4 of us only have 1 kid each. My oldest 2 sisters have 2 and 4. Like you said, life is expensive. Yeah. And, like I said, I come from a big family too, to where there was 8 of us, and I know what it's like and my mom, for the most part, was a single mom. And so I know what it's like to grow up with lots of siblings and not having a lot of material things. We did fine. And, there's people out there who are doing just fine with the circumstances that they have in their lives. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. But if that's not what you want, that's also okay. I think what I was going to mention earlier is when I had decided that I was okay with not being a mom, and I vocalized that, without even knowing my circumstances, people were very, very quick to judge me about how selfish it is to not want to have kids, which blows my mind because not everyone should be a parent. There are people who do have kids who should not be parents. Like, do you know how many kids are in the system? It is heartbreaking. I personally have had family experiences where, people that I love went into the system, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I'm not talking about just for the time while they were in the system, but through different foster families. And then, these kids get stuck in these terrible, terrible foster families only to be treated the way that they're treated. And it's heartbreaking and it's sickening, and they have to wait until they're old enough to just leave because there's nothing that we could do about it. And I know that's not the circumstances in every case, but in a lot of cases it is, and it's truly heartbreaking. Like my nephew, I tried to adopt him. A few people in my family tried to adopt him. He went into foster care, and he was treated really badly. And I remember feeling so helpless. Like, it was just a really bad situation. And he's so loving and kind that when he finally did get away from all of that, he just was manipulated into another bad situation. He's doing okay now, but it's like he's only 17. and he was in the system, and it was a really bad experience. And so, I always thought that maybe I would look into adoption later on if I really wanted to, because I didn't think I could have kids. And maybe that's something that's still on the table for me later on. But for now, I definitely don't want to have any more kids biologically. And that is my choice, and that's completely fine. And not everyone is going to agree with that, and that's okay too. That's a big, heavy subject though. And so I don't know how many people are going to watch this live chat since it's not an actual video, but it's a topic that I'm like not excited to talk about, but I feel like I should talk about it. Of only wanting to have one child. Yeah. And if you're here in the live chat, then you probably care a little bit more than anyone who's going to have like that type of negative response to someone just being honest and living their lives. Sometimes I feel like I'm still in shock that I'm a mom. It still hasn't sunk in that I went through what I went through, that I was even pregnant, that there was a human that grew inside of my body, that I was a vessel for another life. And I think that is like, it's such a beautiful thing, but I feel like I feel like it was another me. Like I was a completely different person. And so for one of my next videos, I wanted to do a reaction video to my birth vlog that we filmed when Ember was born. And I actually filmed it, but my stupid camera focused on my microphone, so I was blurry the whole time. And I was like, oh man, I can't use this. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe Isaac and I can do the reaction video together, as mom and dad reacting to the birth vlog. I think that'd be really cool. But to sit down and watch that again, it was like I didn't even recognize myself. It seemed like it almost felt like I was having an outer body experience watching that old footage and knowing that was me. But knowing how I felt at the time, like that was a different person. Like she was going through so much and silently. And it was a little heartbreaking because I knew the things that were going through my mind during that time. And I just wish that I could have held her. I just wish I could have been there for me back then, who I am now, and just like tell her like it's going to be okay. Things are going to get better. It's not always going to be like this. And because for me, my postpartum depression, I feel like, and I don't know if there's a difference, but I feel like I was becoming depressed before I gave birth. It was like very towards the end of my pregnancy, I was starting to feel really depressed. And then after I had Ember, that postpartum depression was in overdrive, and it was such a difficult first year for me, and Ember being a hard baby, and it was just like the hardest thing I've ever done. And also on top of the fact that we have no support here. We don't have a support system. All of my family lives in Texas or Nashville. And so I think that really weighed heavily on me too, not having a support system here. I can tell you that our lives would be very different if we didn't have our friend Debbie, who comes and helps us with Ember. She has made a lot of what I'm able to do as far as work possible. Without her, I wouldn't have time to do anything. And like I said, Ember doesn't like let me do anything. If I'm working on the laptop, she gets upset, like she wants my attention, and I don't want her to see me visually on my phone all the time or on my computer all the time. I want to be more present with her. So it's hard to try and work and separate that when I have to be with her all the time. So Debbie has made our lives like more doable. She is such a huge blessing and we're so grateful for her, but I still have, you know, I still have a hard time thinking about the fact that I don't have a support system here outside of Debbie. It's like I wish that, I wish I had my mom, I wish I had my sister, and keeping up with each other online is only it only does so much, and through text messages and FaceTimes, and it's just like I can't imagine what it's like for my friends who are able to have that kind of family support around them, and they say like it takes a village to raise a child, and we don't have a village here um, at all. And so I'm grateful for the couple of people that we have in our lives that help, but it's been really, really, really hard, at least on me, to know that I don't have that. And I hope I don't even know. I don't think that, unless I move back to Texas or something, I'm never going to have that support. And that is really sad to think about. And so, I mean, I try my hardest to go and visit as often as I can. And it's just been so hard to fly with Ember. And then once she turns 2, she doesn't fly free anymore. I'm going to have to start paying for her tickets, and they're not cheap. And like, that's a huge reason why I'm building out my van, so that, once she turns 2, we can start giving her motion sickness, like medicine, if she is still feeling that way. And then we can also face her forward, which might be the issue. And so to be able to take my time and travel like I wanted to before Ember was born, I still get to enjoy that side of myself and that side of the life that I, wanted to live. Just because you have a child doesn't mean that your life and your dreams are over. You can still be who you are, and you can still do the things that you wanted to do. They might just look a little bit different. So to be able to take my time and drive down to Texas and not be on a set time limit, like, oh, my flight back is next week. I have to leave next week. If I'm feeling like this is great, I can stay longer. And Isaac is always welcome to Texas. Always. He just doesn't always want to go. And so, that's a big reason that I'm doing the van, is so that I can spend that time in Texas, and I don't have to worry about paying for a flight. I don't have to worry about paying for a hotel. Like, of course, I have places that I can stay, but I'll always have the option to stay in our tiny home on wheels, which is really nice. Glenda said, "You're not alone. You have a great man that is your partner and great dad to Ember." Yes. But when I say that I'm alone, I mean we're alone, both of us. Yes, we have each other, but we don't have our village. We don't have a lot of that support that would be amazing. We don't get to cater to our relationship personally because we don't have time. We have to work and we have to take care of our daughter. And so we don't do date nights. We don't do anything like that because it's just difficult to navigate that right now. So now that Ember's getting older, hopefully figure out a better routine now that she is, able to be more comfortable with people, like not strangers, but I mean, like, if we ever wanted to go do something overnight, we can't because there's nowhere for Ember to stay overnight. There just isn't. So it's either stuff that we can do as a family or nothing. And right now we're so busy anyways that we're just trying to figure out what works. And so, I don't know, my point was like, we just don't have a village. I wasn't saying that I'm lonely, although, there are moments where I am lonely, and I'm sure Isaac feels the same. But like, for us together as parents, we are lonely. We are pretty much isolated where we live because we don't have any friends and family that live around us. I think my closest, aside from Debbie, my closest friend lives in Portland. It's 3 hours away, and I hardly ever get to see her. And then aside from that, everyone else lives in other states. So it's like, we are very isolated and very alone, and we don't have a village, and we don't have help. And it's like, the little help we do have, we are so extremely grateful for, because our life would look very different if we didn't have Debbie. Alice said, always wonderful hearing your chats. Being Ember's mom has enhanced yours and Isaac's world so much. You're great parents. You've never been a mom other than a fur baby mom. You're brave and courageous. Thank you. Sherry said, wow, no notifications. Sorry, I'm late. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't promote this really. This was a last minute. I wasn't quite sure I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do for my next Motherhood is Wild podcast. And so I thought I'd go live for the first time and just kind of hang out with whoever wanted to show up. So I did not promote it. I did share it on Leave Her Wild, but like right before I went live. So I don't know if anyone saw that either. But lives on here will probably be pretty random, but I will do my best to promote them in advance. I just today, like, my heart was kind of heavy, and I just kind of wanted to sit here with you and with anyone that wanted to come and sit with me and just talk about whatever came up. And lots of mom talk. I love it. Like I said, I don't have a village here, and it makes me sad because my best friend, her daughter's only like 2 weeks apart from Ember, and when we visit, like, it's an amazing thing to see a next generation of, like, we're best friends, and our kids are like playing together, and they're going to grow up together, and they're going to know each other since they were born. Like, it's crazy. Dan P said, live chats on here where Ember opens P.O. box presents and plays with them would be pretty fun. That would be pretty fun. That's definitely an idea. We have talked about getting a P.O. box, so maybe that's something that we'll actually move forward with soon. The weather's been crazy lately, and so we've been all over the place, especially this last week. But I wanted to thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. I am really looking forward to whatever this channel becomes. Like I said, I really believe in being open and being vulnerable, and I know that that can be really difficult. Personally, I do know that that can be difficult, and like on Leave Her Wild, when it comes to that, it's a lot easier for me to be more open and transparent and vulnerable because it's just mostly like things that affect me or pertain to me. But here on Motherhood is Wild, it's a little different because I'm talking about being a mom, I'm talking about my daughter. And so when people say mean things, and especially about my child or her dad, Mommy Bear wants to come out, and I got to be a little careful when it comes to that. So I'm working on getting the courage to really talk about the things that matter to me, that I think do need to be discussed, that are just really sensitive topics. But if we don't talk about them, nothing's ever going to change. And so follow your dreams. Reborn Nursery says chatting with other moms and women is really essential, a part of our makeup as women. I agree. I really agree. Maybe I will make it like a once a month, a mom circle type thing where I go live and us moms just hang out and talk, because I think that might be a good thing for all of us. But I want to thank you all for hanging out today, and I will see you guys Tuesday, I believe, is when I'm posting on this channel. And I still feel like I don't know what I want to talk about for the next episode. So if you have any suggestions, please leave your ideas in the comments, or if there's anything that, you've always wanted to talk about but felt like you couldn't for one reason or the other, let me know. We'll talk about it here. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. Thank you so much to everyone who commented in the live chat. I appreciate you.